This is Telecomix. We have a short message for you.
Syria?
Yes, Syria.
Thank you. After we all seen President Assad delusional speech on Sunday, and today UN envoy Brahimi, actually for the first time, he said that it's a lost opportunity and quote, there is no political process after this speech. So it seems that after 22 months, things look even worse than ever before. What's your step forward from this point?
Well, I'll say a few things. The speech by Bashar al-Assad was indeed evidence of how delusional he is. The proposal he made was nothing more than a desperate attempt to cling to power, and it would only allow the regime to continue its oppression and killing of the Syrian people. The momentum in Syria is with opposition forces and with the Syrian people. It is clear that as defections continue, and we've seen a number of them, and the regime continues to lose control of territory, that Assad cannot restore his control of Syria. The future in Syria does not and will not include Bashar al-Assad. He has lost all legitimacy, as we have said, and he must step aside to enable a political solution that ends the bloodshed and suffering and meets the aspirations of the Syrian people. The United States will continue its support for the Geneva Action Group's framework, which was endorsed by the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council, the Arab League, and the UN General Assembly. And we will continue our efforts in support of Joint Special Representative Brahimi to build international support for the Geneva framework and urge all parties in Syria to take steps toward its implementation, to help expedite an end to the suffering of the Syrian people and to bring about the day when Syria and the Syrian people can decide, or Syrian people rather, can decide their future for themselves.
Basically, you summarize what you have been doing for the last 2 years, actually. Many argue that something else needs to be done, such as arming the rebels. And the fact that you talk about the rebels continuing gain power on the ground is being done mostly led by Al-Nusra Front or other groups that your government has been seeing labeled as terrorist organization.
Well, I think it's a good point to make our point, which is that our position regarding lethal support has not changed. We are not providing it. As we have said, we continue to take a hard look at every feasible policy option to evaluate whether or not doing so would advance our goal of hastening an end to the violence and supporting political transition in Syria. In other words, we look at all feasible options and evaluate them based on whether or not we believe that goal would be achieved. We firmly believe that a political solution led by the Syrian people and supported by the international community is the best chance for a stable and democratic Syria. We do not believe at this point that providing arms will promote a political solution. And I would argue to you on your first point about our policy, we have over time ramped up our assistance to the Syrian people in humanitarian aid. We have ramped up our non-lethal assistance to the Syrian opposition. We have, as you know, recognized the Syrian Transitional Group as the legitimate representative of the Syrian people. These are steps that demonstrate movement in our policy towards further isolating Assad, further isolating the regime, assisting the opposition. But we do not believe at this point that providing lethal assistance is the right policy. Yeah.
We use every communication technology that we master to try to keep the flow of information up. You are free to request anything from us. We do our best. We are from the internets. We come in peace.